Welcome to this mission resource video produced by Albany Presbytery. Today we will talk about Troy Area United Ministries, headquartered in South Troy on 2nd Avenue. TAUM, for short, is a long-term mission partner of Albany Presbytery, which means it is endorsed and supported, but not controlled by Presbytery. Together, we hope that this conversation will awaken curiosity, enlarge your understanding, and equip you for better engagement in Christ's mission. My name is the Reverend Ted Wright. I am a retired pastor and mission worker. I currently serve as the chairperson of the Presbytery's Mission Committee. With me for this interview is the Reverend Donna Elia, a member and former moderator of Albany Presbytery, who for the last number of years has been serving as the executive director of Troy Area United Ministries. Now we are going to follow an interview format. I will ask a few questions which I think tend to represent the general interests or curiosity of local church leaders. And at the end of the video, you will find information about how to follow up with more specific questions of your own, or how to develop more of a relationship with TAUM, should you so choose. So, Donna, can you briefly describe for us the mission of Troy Area United Ministries?
Yes, thank you, Ted. I appreciate this wonderful opportunity. So Troy Area United Ministries is often referred to as an umbrella organization. We have a variety of programs, which you'll hear about in a moment. And our mission statement is that in partnership with interfaith communities and others, Troy Area United Ministries provides a safe and just space for people in need, offering food, furniture, HIV/AIDS services, education, spiritual counseling, and advocacy. And so what that means is that we are doing both meeting immediate needs of people, particularly living in poverty, and working for advocacy and social change.
Well, that all sounds wonderful and very Christ-like. Now, it's a big plate, it's a big agenda.
Yes.
So you go about fulfilling it through several different programs. Would you want to name them first and then just proceed to describe them more in detail one by one?
Certainly. So there's the Troy Damien Center, the Furniture Program, Computers for Kids, which is operating as we speak. There's Campus Ministry at Sage. The Crop Hunger Walk, there's Holiday Adopt a Family, the Martin Luther King program, and then other ways in which we get involved in the community as well. So now I'll describe them. And let me just say too, just one piece of history that I think is helpful. At one time there was United Urban Ministries and the Troy Area Council of Churches, and an Episcopal priest, Reverend Dr. Seymour Flynn, preached an interfaith service at a Thanksgiving service and said, you know, why don't we combine our efforts? And he says that that was one of the most effective sermons he ever preached because they took him up on it. And so in 1986 became Troy Area United Ministries. We were lucky we had another minister, Reverend Don Pangburn from the Reformed Church, who was a lawyer and helped draw up the Articles of Incorporation. So the programs really emerged because of people identifying a need. For example, the Troy Damien Center, which started predominantly for people living with HIV and AIDS, expanded to include people with other services, and then added a meal site as a point of entry for people so that that would get them in the door, and then we could connect them with other community partners. So through that program, we just last year alone distributed served meals and groceries valued at about $90,000 And then now, of course, during COVID-19, the landscape is different. We're doing to-go meals only and handing out groceries. But ordinarily, what that would do is bring people in the building. They would have access to nutritional classes, to information about medication, housing, healthcare, and other services. That's our Troy Damien Center. The furniture program was started because we're part of the Homeless Services Collaborative. And the other service providers said, you know, we cannot have people be stably housed unless the home is furnished. And so we started with a couple of volunteers and a truck. Now we have our own truck. We're building an addition because, for example, we just got 40 beds from a motel. These beds had not been slept on in months, and we had to rent space. So we're expanding our space to be able to accommodate that. And when people are leaving the homeless shelter or domestic violence, or just basically in need, we furnish the home. And we'll get kids who say, oh, a bed for me, a dresser with a mirror. And there's so much joy in that little niche kind of program. It's good stewardship too. The computers for kids, which typically would have more like 15 to 20 kids. Now we have 10 kids socially distanced wearing masks. And what they learn is they have to write a resume, they learn Excel, usually doing something fun like M&Ms, doing a power analysis of the colors. They have to do a PowerPoint, they learn web design, they code even. And so that program provides them employment through the county, and then we hire instructors, and so it becomes an educational tool. Our chaplaincy you'll hear about under a separate program because the Presbytery funds that separately. The Martin Luther King program is part of our commitment to racial justice. And so we have a couple of events around the King holiday observance, bringing together the interfaith community and raising money for scholarships. So we just, for example, interviewed young people going to college and awarded 4 scholarships. And for a small organization like ours, that's a lot. And then we do emergency services, holiday adopt a family, meeting immediate needs. People will call us when they're in crisis. And then just quickly, we're part of the census. We were part of the getting early voting. We're doing other kinds of racial justice and social justice and advocacy work as well. So that's the thumbnail sketch. And I know we're meeting a need where one has been identified.
Yeah, that's a 5-finger thumbnail sketch. That's very, very impressive. By the way, I should note for viewers, we're recording this in August of 2020. So talking about registering for voting and so forth, that would be the context of that observation. So TAUM is governed by a board of directors. It's not under the control of any congregation or denomination. I'm just curious, do the members of the board each represent a local stakeholder or church or denomination? And well, let me stop there.
Yeah, yes, that is ordinarily true. There have been exceptions. We had a wonderful board secretary whose only connection to a congregation was that she worked at the congregation's food pantry. She wasn't technically a member. Ordinarily, people are minister members of their denomination or congregation members. And what the board has done is really diversify who's on the board. So, for example, we have a new member of St. Michael the Archangel, who's also an attorney. Our board president, Reverend Dr. Janice Palm, is a retired former district superintendent in the Methodist Church. We're also interfaith, so we're both ecumenical and interfaith. But so then recently, for example, we have a Rabbi Deb Gordon on our board from Congregation Berit Shalom. So ordinarily, the board members are connected with a local congregation. We also as a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, in terms of oversight and accountability, every year we have an annual, now it's called a review rather than an audit because we're on the smaller side. And the board has fiduciary responsibility. So there's really very good oversight. And in fact, to quote Reverend Dr. Palm on a recent continuing education that the board had on development, she said, the reason I give to TAUM is because of the way that it's run in terms of responsibility and accountability and the diversity of people who serve.
And that's all very important.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that style of organization keeps you vitally connected to the various constituent faith communities, which
Yes.
certainly enhances the vision. So besides giving money, which we encourage people to do, which we as a presbytery do, what opportunities exist for well-wishers to become more hands-on, personally involved?
Yes, yes. Thank you for asking that question. So I had mentioned earlier our food program, for example. So once a week, we are capturing leftover food from a local Hannaford. Last year alone, that was 15,000 pounds of food. So in an average week, that means we're collecting about 300 pounds of food. And we have people who will sign up as drivers to go and pick it up and bring it. We have some people who will help prepare the food packages so that people are getting a nutritional balance of food. We have others who will help serve, and that's one way. And then during ordinary circumstances, when we're doing served meals, we also need, in the building, we also need people who will help serve, and we always encourage people to eat with the folks that we're serving, because that builds community. And in fact, one of our most wonderful volunteers is a client of another social services provider. He has a cognitive disability, wonderful fellow, and he's here nearly every week helping out. That's one thing that people can do. Certainly people can donate their furniture, and that's a critical piece to our ability to distribute furniture, is the fact that people are willing to give the furniture. I mentioned earlier, we do the crop hunger walk, and then in a typical year, we will have the AIDS walk to help with the HIV/AIDS services part of our Damien Center. We need people who will help with mailings. So our mailing list is in the range of 2,200 or so. And so you can imagine that the couple of times a year that we send out an appeal, or other times when we're promoting the Martin Luther King program, we need some hands-on help with promotion of materials. You may have an interest in computers, and so perhaps would want to do like a workshop or something in conjunction with our Computers for Kids program. So there are really a lot of ways to engage in a hands-on way, and for people of all ages too.
Well, thanks. That's really important. And so viewers, at the end of this video, you'll see contact information. And if you or friends want to get in touch with TAUM, you can do that and arrange these opportunities to become hands-on and probably learn as much as you give. It's a two-way street. It always is. What do you see as major emerging challenges for this type of ministry in your context?
Certainly, and I'm going to address that at two levels. One, because as you noted, this is August 2020, and so we're looking at some of the challenges associated with the pandemic that we're currently experiencing. And so, like other organizations, we're having to either cancel or reframe the ways we're doing some things. I'm sure often many congregations and people who are watching this may remember singing, for example, in our Festival of Music and Chocolate for a furniture program, or baking something delicious. That's not going to happen this fall. And there are other ways in which we would raise some funds that have to be rethought. So the immediate need is in relation to the virus. I think we've made the necessary adjustments, done some safe protocols, which are important to all of us, and are going to be looking at that landscape for a while. Beyond that, one thing we've been working on, and really we've been working on this the entire 20 years that I've been here, which is somewhat of a shift from denominational and congregational funding, which we rely upon. That's still very important to us. But in recognition that the churches and denominations are under stress, we've continued to expand our reach. And so that's why our board is working so hard at development, and has been, and strategic planning, because I do think that the need for our services is going to continue to be high. Certainly at this moment, it has expanded. And, you know, we have to really continue to work on engaging people so that we can continue to fund and have the bandwidth to do the work that we're doing. So that's what comes to mind. I'm sure there are others, but that's really a big piece of the work that is a challenge.
And one that any of us viewers can help with.
Certainly.
Well, in all your long affiliation, hopefully you've experienced some joys as well as the thrill of solving problems and challenges. Does a particular personal joy come to mind for you, sort of a very gripping moment?
Well, really a lot of them. So I'll keep it brief though. But I always thought how wonderful it would be to be a supervising pastor. And I think I imagined, you know, I'd be serving at church and I'd have a seminary student who was not yet ordained and would work in the church. Well, much to my joy, about 1.5 years ago, the Reverend George William Whitfield, who's the pastor of Fifth Avenue AME Zion Church in just about in Lansingburg, he's working on his Master of Divinity. He's just about done at Drew. And he approached me and asked if he could do his internship here at TAUM, because he was looking to expand and have a deeper understanding of how the congregation can serve the community. And I have to say that experience and the conversations we had some very real conversations about race and racism, about the challenges of serving congregations, and the importance of the congregation engaging in the community. His mother was born the same year I was, so we spoke about engaging younger people in the work of congregations. And I will always treasure that time of being his supervising pastor, which he's really a colleague because he's already a pastor. But that time has just come to a conclusion, and I said to him, I'm having trouble letting go. So that was an opportunity that I had in this position. That was really a great blessing. And then I'll get phone calls sometimes from both clients and from donors, and who say, I really so appreciate what you're doing. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I usually save those at least for a while because it's really wonderful to feel as though because we're a modest sized organization. I often say we're like the small church, and to feel that sense of the connection and the outreach.
Well, you're a small church with a big impact.
Thank you.
Yeah. For those of us watching who might want to learn more, could you now provide for us a sheet that shows, you know, your website or your contact information, or some way that people can begin to connect and follow through?
I certainly can.
Well, thanks so much for that. And so viewers, if you have further questions, I recommend that you just use the contact information you just saw and get in touch directly with Donna and TAUM and pursue those interests so that you and your people can engage more effectively in the mission of Christ, even if it's not in the Troy area. I trust that just as Donna was sharing about, learning more from a colleague about racism and some of the issues surrounding that, you can learn a great deal about how to do mission, whether or not it's in the context of Troy, because so many of the principles operate no matter where you happen to be located. Thank you so much, Donna, and our blessings to TAUM. It's been an honor to do this interview with you, and I hope that in days to come, you'll be getting lots of phone calls and emails.
Thank you so much, Ted, and thanks to the Mission Committee for this wonderful idea. I really appreciate your work. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, we'll sign off for now. Take care and God bless.